Welcome to the ATX Pest Podcast, Episode 5, Mosquitoes, everybody's favorite. Okay, you've probably heard of mosquitoes being called the deadliest animal on the planet, and that would be true. So we're going to discuss them a little bit today, the good, the bad, the ugly, things that you can do to help prevent these from developing, becoming a problem on breeding on your property, so you can enjoy the outdoors again. What preventive measures you can take, and also how you can help prevent getting bitten, and just give you a little brief rundown so you better understand them, which essentially is how you can ever take care of anything. Is you have to understand and know a little bit about them first. So mosquitoes. Let's start with this. They breed in water, stagnant, standing water. Okay, they can actually breed in as much as a little tiny capful. They can lay eggs in there. Females lay eggs. They usually call them a raft, which is a group of eggs. Depends on the species. Typically we deal with the Aedes species here in Texas more than anything. There's also the culex that we can encounter, anopheles. So there's a few different, but Aedes is the major one. That's the one that was the one that was all in the news. Zika and this and that, and West Nile that you hear about every single year. So that's primarily what we'll talk about. But in general, their life cycle is the same. Okay, so they'll lay eggs in stagnant standing water. So once they lay those eggs, pretty quickly, those eggs will hatch, and they'll hatch into the larval stage, which we call larvae, or they actually call them wigglers. If you've ever seen a larvae inside in the water, kind of wiggling around, that's why they get their name. Okay, and then after they become the wigglers, they develop into the pupal stage, pupae. Okay, and they call those little slang term for them, a nickname they give them for that, like the wigglers one is tumblers. Okay, and then shortly after that, they emerge into an adult. Okay, so and their life cycle is actually pretty quick. They say I think 7 to 14 days. Typically, it's around a week or so under ideal conditions, and they'll typically go through that life cycle and get to an adulthood within about a week or so. Okay, week and a half is pretty average. So because of their rapid life cycle, it's important to evaluate your property. And here's why you may not, if you do have a company doing mosquito, okay, and you get mixed results. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one, Mother Nature. It rains, a lot of product gets washed away, so, but just like general pest control, pests in general, it's really about doing a really good job at the time of the service, but it also has a lot to do with the frequency. Okay. A lot of folks don't want to pay for mosquito service every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks like you should. Okay. So most companies, including mine, I have a handful of customers that do monthly. They're satisfied with the results, but then some of the more challenging properties, they do it in 21-day cycles, which is what I essentially recommend, just because of the breeding and the challenges with the weather. Okay. Now there are some better products on the market. I'm utilizing one of them myself now. I mix in insect growth regulators in our mixes, and now we have some traps that we incorporate as well as an option for your more difficult properties. So there's a lot of options out there. I tested this product that we're utilizing now all last season and got really good results. However, we had a really dry season last year, and so lack of moisture, you're going to have less mosquito activity. So, you know, they're a challenge. They're a challenge for us as a pest control company to um, control these because you're not going to eliminate. It's impossible. But what you hope to do is eliminate as many bites as you can, which is controlling the populations to a reasonable amount, which is usually about a 80 to 85% threshold. And that's just the reality of it. And ultimately target more and hopefully control and kill off the majority of the females. Because if you didn't know this, females are the only ones that actually bite us. Okay. They do that typically within 24 hours. They get that blood meal from us to act as a source of protein for their eggs when they're laying their eggs. Okay. Kind of like fertilizing their eggs. So males don't bite. So they could be flying. So if you have mosquitoes kind of flying around you and you're not getting bitten, most likely that's a male mosquito. Okay, which they're not so bad, right? Because they're not biting us. So they're just a nuisance, but at least you're not getting bitten. Because I've had customers that say, "Well, I'm still got some mosquitoes flying around." Yes, but are you getting bitten? Well, you know what? Come to think of it, not really. No, you just have some males flying around you, and that's that's good. So you'll never get rid of them completely, but I understand about wanting relief. Um, Absolutely. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help prevent bites in general. Um, we'll talk about that real quick. Installing a fan on your patio to redirect their flight. That's actually helps quite a bit. That's not the solution though. It's many other things you have to do to incorporate with that. Using some DEET, some spray. The eucalyptus one, it's not little, not so synthetic in nature. More natural sprays is what I would choose to go with. Safer, okay? You don't want to spray those directly on your skin. Um, not a healthy habit to form. Okay. Um, there's also a phenomenal product that I recommend to some of my customers. I utilize it and I do a lot of fishing and hunting and whatnot. And Thermacell, they got a patio version, patio shield or something like that it's called now. We utilize those. Um, and I have some customers that will turn those on in their patios and, they get almost complete relief having a mosquito service, doing treating and seeking out the standing water on the property, and we'll talk about that. Just being involved, and it's a multitude of little things that you need to do. Having a fan is another good thing you could do. Wearing a long sleeve, wear clothing that's not going to be so attractive. Don't wear red and black clothes; they're attracted to that. It's proven. Okay. Um, Plus, it's hot. Wear light gray or a white colored long sleeve shirt when you're outside and when it's hot out during the season. You're trying to enjoy the outdoors. Besides, it seems like short sleeves are always people want to wear tank tops. You actually stay cooler with a longer sleeve, believe it or not. That's a proven fact as well. I've known that for over the years from working out in the weather, 100 degrees. Definitely keeps you cooler, keeps the sun off your skin. So that'll make a difference. If you're really prone to sweating a lot, I don't know, try to take a shower, even if you get in real briefly to get the sweat off your skin. You'll be less attracted to mosquitoes as well. So they say don't drink beer, but I say enjoy life. Drink some beer, but that you might you might be a little bit sweeter, so they might come after you. That's I feel more of a myth than anything. But anyways, some people emit more oxygen, than others, and that's a big reason why you mosquitoes are drawn to you and get attracted to you, and you get more bites that way. But the beard thing people swear by, but drink it up. Don't worry about it. Just don't drive, right? So, anyways, let me see here. So that's a little bit on the bites. Now, seeking out why you might have them on your property. Well, if you have a lot of foliage, bushes, shrubs, trees, a lot of dense cover like that, try to thin that out as much as you possibly can. Keep the yard landscaped really well. Keep the grass cut down short as you can. The more shaded areas, which is nice to have on a property, the more resting areas that presents for mosquitoes. They want to be in the cool areas. They want to stay out of the sun during the day. Um, they're going to tend to flock to shaded areas underneath the backside of leaves and shrubs and trees and whatnot because they'll stay out of the wind, so they're not getting blown around by the wind. So they like to rest in those areas quite a bit. So, with a mosquito service, that's precisely where us companies that are providing mosquito service, are focusing on is going to be your thick, dense foliage areas around the house. And then all the shaded areas. Potentially, you might have a deck and you have shade underneath it there. That's going to be extremely conducive underneath there, which can be difficult to treat under depending on how it's constructed. But we do our best to get underneath areas like that. And then, really, it's about moisture. Standing water is not your friend. Um, Leaf debris. You want to make sure that you're cleaning the yard up. Get rid of that leaf debris. Make sure number one, make sure your gutters are not clogged with leaf debris. That'll hold just a little bit of moisture in there, and you'll have mosquitoes breeding there like mad. I see it all the time. So gutters, get gutter covers. I recommend that. Um, so there's a couple options out there that will help take care of that. Act as a solution to that. But it's primarily make sure you don't have any standing stagnant water in the property. There's areas sometimes you can't necessarily control, and that's what your company should be doing if you have a company, seeking out any potential breeding sites using what we call an insect growth regulator. We have little pellets that we utilize and treat in the yard at my company. We do that on every service. And also, too, we have a liquid version that we mix into with whatever product that we are spraying on the property in those shaded areas and the shrubs and whatnot in the perimeter. Okay. So that's necessary. And you'll get a lot better results that way. So if you're a do-it-yourselfer, call me. I can tell you what products to use and how to do it, what equipment to buy, and just want to care. If you're going to do it on yourself, if you do it yourself, you're going to do it on yourself anyways, and I'll hire somebody. I don't mind answering a couple of questions. I'd rather make sure that you're doing it safe for yourself, but also obviously for the environment, and your neighbors don't want you spraying anything over on them either. So you got to be careful, especially with using the proper equipment to be applying a mosquito treatment. Okay, I'm sure you've all seen those misters and blowers and whatnot, and that can drift over into another property or into um, unfortunately into like a creek or something like that, and could be killing the aquatic life, and we do not want to be doing that. So you got to be very responsible, be safe, know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing 100%, if you don't know how to read a label, if you don't understand it 100% fully, you have no business doing it. So please don't do that. Either seek all that information or leave it to the professionals. Okay. And with that said, here's the thing. This is really frustrating for me, and I'm going to harp on this, and is what it is. When people are looking for mosquito help, mosquito control, they oftentimes will hire a mosquito company, and sometimes they already have a pest control company, which I have found over the years. I've had a few customers, And that's mainly just because we didn't do a good job. We haven't done a great job all the time of letting all of our customers know what the heck we do. And then we do hey, we do this termite, mosquito, exclusion, rodent, we evict squirrels and raccoons from the attic. Well, unless you tell your customers that, how the hell are they going to know you do all that? So we've had a few times, and it's kind of embarrassing and kind of a kick in the gut that you find out your pest customer that you've had for a couple of years has a mosquito company, mosquito service. Okay. And here's the reality about this. And I want people to understand this. And I'm not saying that everyone's bad. I'm not saying that, but I won't name names. But the reality of it is these mosquito franchises, okay, typically are just owned by investors that have zero knowledge. They're entrepreneurs. They're just trying to make money. They buy a franchise and they don't know what the heck. They don't know a damn thing. Okay, so they try to hire people that know something, of course, but then they're seasonal. So it's like changing underwear. They're just constant and they're seasonal, and they just hire a whole new team usually every year. Which this day and age, it's hard to hang on to employees. I've had to have a couple new employees here and there, and that'll always continue. Nothing you can do about it in this economy, especially. So, um, you know, and hopefully the reason people leave is that they outgrow you and they go off and bigger and better things. That's all I ever hope for my employees, at least. And that's happened. So that's very that's pleasing when that happens. But sometimes life happens and people have to move. And I have a guy that's moving now. He's one of he's a beloved um, technician, and we're gonna miss him horribly. But personal stuff, and he's moving out of state, and completely 100% understand and completely support that. So, but off top, that's all getting a little off subject. But mosquito companies, us pest control companies, go through an incredible amount of training, and typically someone that has a pest control company has years, like myself, of experience and knowledge, and it has put that to work in the field, in the office, and training. And so the reality of it is, us pest control companies are way more equipped and knowledgeable and more suited to be doing mosquito services than some guy that might own, just making this up, a law firm or an insurance company, or a chain of fast food restaurants, and I'm going to get into this business too because I heard it might be profitable. And so they go and buy a mosquito franchise, and then they seek out and try to find someone with a license so they can do business even. And you see it all the time. Um, and they're building up, and some of them are being very successful, making money. Good for them. But it I find through some insider knowledge that I have on it, they don't have a darn clue on what it is they're doing for the most part. A lot of these franchisees are like, well, I guess I got to quit my regular jobs because we're struggling, and I'm going to have to go start spraying accounts on my own. I kind of looked into a franchise at one time just because I was approached by a friend of mine, and we thought about that they have franchises and they want to add a brand, and thought about me, and they said, well, let's start a mosquito franchise together. They wanted to take my existing mosquito customers and bring it over there, and it was a thought for a while, but inevitably I didn't want to do that because I want to just focus on the company I have. I don't want to have too many irons in the fire. I care about this company is my baby, and I want to grow it and have it for years to come and pass it down the line. I'm not in it to try to just make quick get rich. It's not a scheme by any means. It's my life's work. So I decided it just wasn't the right fit for me. And we just kind of extinguished that idea completely, and so did they. I mean, it was very clear that um, we didn't want to get involved in that. And what happened was is I got invited to have a phone call with one of the franchises that one of the two that I really um, kind of scouted, so to speak, and I accidentally got on a phone call. They gave me they're really unorganized, and they got me on a phone call that I shouldn't have been on. It was a VP, the territory manager, and a bunch of franchisees from different states. And the conversations I heard on there is like, well, yeah, you might want to try that. And then the VP on there was applauding, like, oh, you did this. And what that franchisee described what he was doing was illegal. And the VP doesn't have a damn clue. So they're like, oh, well, good effort. And I'm not saying it wasn't good effort. The guy's trying best he can. But the problem was is that there's no knowledge there, and obviously there was lack of training. So it was a problem. Um, I left that call like, oh my God, I can't believe this is what's going on. And then talking with the other company, I didn't get on a call like that and have that same experience, but quizzing them was very evident that I had 10 times the knowledge, which is just a really, above average, but it's a 101 understanding of mosquito and mosquito control that any of us good business pest control owners around this area are going to have a handle on. Okay, 100%. So if you're thinking that if you have a pest control company already, ask if they provide mosquito service. If they don't, maybe seek out another pest control company that can provide both for you. That's what I would suggest. It's always nice to kind of have everything all in one. Get all in one service. Like my company, we do, and I'm not trying to sell myself. I'm just saying, if not, you want to try me, beautiful. But not. Make sure you have a company that does pest control, does rodent control, does exclusion, meaning they'll seal up the home, and the issue that you had in your ad, not just trap, because guess what's going to happen? If you don't do something preventive like exterior rodent stations, you don't seal up the home, you're going to have that problem again. So you just paid, say, $800, $2,000 to have a home sealed up, let's say, and you're not doing anything preventative or you didn't seal up, you're going to have that problem again. So you're really you're setting yourself up for failure. And some of these companies that don't do that work, they're not going to say nothing. They just want to make a sale and take your money. Okay, so have a company that's equipped in pest control, mosquito control, termite, um, and rodent exclusion. And that's why we do all those things. Um, it's very important. Not lawn care. These lawn care companies, they say they do pest control as an add-on because they're already going to be at the house and say, oh, we'll do it real cheap, we'll add it on. But you're getting a professional lawn service, but you're getting a very watered down, cheap pest service that they're not going to do all those things that I mentioned either. So, everyone needs to stay in their lane. That's why I'd never try to add like lawn care, this and that, even though I have a license for it. I don't know a lot about it. I passed the test, and that's what the scary thing about it is that I passed the state exam and I don't even know all that much, but I knew just enough to pass an exam. But I'm licensed. I got a license to kill, you know, in lawn care, and I couldn't tell you what type of grass I may have. That's pretty sad, right? And that's the issue that when I'm talking about with some of these companies like that is that it's not too difficult to get a license to kill at times, and the level of knowledge may not be there, and that's it's not good overall. Okay, not good for anybody. So, and I understand they're trying to make a living too. So, and I applaud anybody trying that works hard and hustles and everything. I can respect that, but it's just be aware of who you're doing business with and what their level of knowledge and experiences, get referrals, read the reviews very thoroughly. Okay. Not just the ones that they'll share with you, but check them out everywhere across all the social media and whatnot. If you really read into them, you'll get a you'll get a very good idea of what kind of company they really are and if they care or not, okay, or if they're knowledgeable or not. So I really suggest doing that. But mosquitoes, clutter in the yard. I think we touched on the water. That's just the basics. Talked about bites. Talked a little bit about them. That's really about it. But once we get in the evenings, a few consecutive days, once we were like holding temperatures around, you know, 60, 70 degrees, we get some rain in there. Mosquitoes they're gonna come out like mad. They're gonna start here soon. We got a lot of rain in the forecast. We'll be warming up, so we're getting into that season. I think this season is going to be buggier than most, just because of the mild winter that we had. It looks like we're in for a lot of rain, so keep that in mind. But if you have any questions, like always, feel free. Give me a call, 512-588-2998. And I appreciate everyone tuning in and listening to me talk. And we'll see you next time, episode 6.